Here's a pop quiz for you. If you see a fight happening, what do you do? A. Stand in there, break up the fight. Or B. Film it with your cell phone and post it to YouTube. If you say A, you are correct. If you said B, you're a dumbass. If you see a fight happening, you need to break it up right away. Don't be standing there going all filming it and posting it on social media. Because a lot of people say like, I don't want to get involved, this and this, blah, 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 blah. I feel like I just film it showing my friends. Tell your friends what happened. Like an example, last month in New Orleans, there was a fight that happened at a Whataburger in Louisiana. Take a look at this. I'm going to describe it to you because there's audio. Just watch it. Just look at this fight. Happened outside. It was some kids who were fighting. They dragged them out. Woman comes in, starts punching him. And then all of a sudden, everyone starts getting in the fight. She films from outside. It's a good idea to film it as evidence for the police. That way you may be a witness to what's going on. He starts kicking and then he has his shirt off, going all that, and all of a sudden bystanders eventually break up the this probably all started like 12 years ago. 12 years ago, there was a fight that happened at a Whataburger. This was from World Star Hip, and it was also on World's Dumbest Brawlers, number 5 or 4-3. How to look at Whataburger. And I got a warning, what the video you're about to see has some explicit content. So, take a look.
I asked you for a cheeseburger. I asked you for a cheeseburger. You gonna scream at me? You gonna scream at me? You gonna scream at me? Don't scream at me. Hey, don't on me, motherfucker. I asked for a fucking cheeseburger. 2, 3, I want a cheeseburger. Josh, that's what you motherfuckers want a cheeseburger. I will do this. I will do all y'all. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I said shut up. I had a cheeseburger. It's good. I said shut up. Just like you talk about listen. Look at the parking lot. I'll smack this fucking drink in your face. Shut up. Shut up. Treat. Let's talk about a 3 chicken strip. Maybe next time you got I just had a French fry and a cheeseburger. Tell this man to get the fuck out your restaurant. Right? Fuck you. No, fuck you. And fuck you and your cheeseburger, motherfucker. Come get some. I said come get some. I will beat your ass in the parking lot. I will beat you all over those French fries, boy. Shut up. You fuck with me, all motherfucker. I will take you in that restaurant. I swear to God, I'll whoop you in this restaurant. Don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with me. I will whoop you in this restaurant.
Common sense alert. You asking you, get the money, you'll get a burger every time. I've done this throughout my whole life. You need a cheeseburger, a fat mullet? How about having this one? There you go. You don't freaking act up like that. You want to act like that? Get out in the parking lot and go fight. Disturb the peace or whatever. When you find out inside a public place, you're in the wrong here. These kids right there, juveniles, act like a freaking adult, man. This ain't Jerry Springer. Back in my mind, I mean, I'm going to show you this fight when we return, and then Stone Phillips with an investigation into your local toys. Stay with us. If you remember, last season we did an outdoor show, we focused in on sports fights, Jerry Springer fights. We're not focused on those fast food fights. One was from Whataburger, the other one was from World's Dumbest. If I show you that, they would block me. But True TV's not on anymore. In future episodes, we're going to check out the world's dumbest brawlers. 20 of the brawlers. Kids swearing to even a little leprechaun rapper. That's what happens. So take a look at this fight. And again, warning you, again, it's very disturbing to watch. Jerry! I finally was saying, did I call the police? Nobody called the police. Nobody did anything. Because there was a fight happening here. There was a fight happening at a Whataburger. But let me tell you something. I never start a fight, but I damn sure will finish one if it happens. Because honestly, when you're dealing with people fighting, it's like, you're dealing with people fighting, what do? You don't film, you call the police. You either two, number one, you call the police, or number two, you deal with it. You call the police or you break it up. That's what you do. You don't stand in there and start saying to yourself, hey. You don't say to yourself, hey, I'm going to start stinking doing this and that, blah, 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 and see what else can happen here. Because really, when you're dealing with people who just don't want to fight, just don't, because if you're trying to start a fight, you're going to end that fight anyway. Let's see what else we got in the news. But, okay, so, I got nothing. So, we always talk about these fights that happen at happened in school. I'm going to show you this food fight that happened just years ago. This was recorded from a security camera. That's right, a security camera at a school. And there was also a clip from this. I would show you that, but they would kick my ass for showing it, and they would delete this episode. So take a look at this. Okay, fine, you caught us. This wasn't a real food fight. Well, it was. It was us, kinda. But if this was real, like in the Bratz or Max Keeble's Big Move, then it just wouldn't have been it. An 8-year-old 11 years ago, the entire year was punished for a colossal food fight that happened. Take a look at this.
Children's.
Because really, common sense would tell you, don't start food fights.
Friday's Facebook food fight at Arden Middle had hundreds running for cover.
Then once it started, there was screaming. Kids started running out of the gymnasium. It was a giant mess.
A mess so bad,
Dirty food fight.
it's being called the biggest and worst
The
ever.
vice principal said it took 15 man-hours to clean up.
And days for word of the plan to spread.
It's very common for middle school kids to be on Facebook.
Facebook is where the plan was hatched and then picked up steam.
And I guess that snowballed from there.
There would be a punishment, and it would be sweeping and swift. The 8th grade graduation trip to Great America now canceled.
20 years they've been going to Great America.
A tradition broken.
It ruined it for all the other kids.
It turns out there weren't too many of those. The district followed a Facebook fingerprint trail, finding 3 out of 4 kids participated in the food fight or knew about it ahead of time and still kept quiet.
When you have that great number of students participating, obviously the consequences are going to be quite broad.
The most massive and messy food fight at Arden Middle School history coming with a price, and an entire grade now paying for it.
You ruined our school year.
Common sense alert. Where do I even begin here? Hey, Timmy, let's plan a food fight at my school, my old school. Are you sure about this? Yeah, it'll be fun. Okay, and you put on Facebook. Dear friends on Facebook, blah, 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 blah. We're going to plan a food fight at my old school. Bring like, blah, 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 blah. And then they start the food fight anyway, ruin the whole trip, blah, blah, blah. Then they won't even find us. Shh, Timmy, they will never know it's us. I'm like, who started this food fight? And then we sneak out. There they are! That red and blue guy that plays guitar! And him! Come here now. Did you start this food fight? No, we didn't. And Timmy the Sweet would have been like, it was him. He was the one that started it. Shut up. I'm like, yes, it was me. I did it. I will clean up everything. Well, I'm glad the 8th grade got punished 11 years ago by cleaning up this mess. Common sense would tell you, don't ruin it for everyone. Don't start a freaking food fight and then ruin a class field trip for everybody. It's wrong, it's despicable, and it can cause a lot of trouble. The bottom line here is, don't start any food fights. It's not just because the food is bad. It's just not one of these things that happen. It's always in the news. Before we go to break here, let's find out one news clip. Yeah, 11 years ago, students were charged after a food fight that happened. Look at this.
Welcome to Classful. We're going to be your new best friend this school year.
Classful. Give me a break.
At least a dozen Los Lunas high school students are facing some criminal charges suspected of starting a massive food fight in the cafeteria.
Action 7 News reporter Alana Gold explains students and parents think the district is taking this way too far.
The massive food fight inside the Los Lunas High School cafeteria last Friday involved dozens of students. Anywhere between 12 and 15 of them are on a 10-day suspension at the start of next school year and now facing criminal charges.
And they gave me a citation for disorderly conduct.
Marissa Herrera is one of them. She says her behavior didn't warrant this kind of discipline.
I threw one thing.
Parents of other accused students agree, claiming they requested to see surveillance video of the food fight, but district officials refused to let that happen.
I, as a parent, am very concerned.
District officials tell us they can't show these parents video of the entire incident because it violates federal guidelines.
They can see video of their own kids, but they can't see video of other kids involved because, we're looking at a cafeteria full of people.
The director of security tells us all suspended students facing disorderly conduct charges admitted to wrongdoing and says they need to be held accountable for putting their classmates and teachers in danger.
Food getting thrown everywhere, people slipping and sliding all over the food. That was the concerning part about it.
To prove this behavior will not be tolerated. Reporting in Los Lunas, Ilana Gold, KOAT Action 7 News.
Last week, there were several dangerous pranks at Los Lunas High School, including one where a student set off fireworks in the hallway. After that, administrators made it clear to students there would be serious consequences if anything else happened, and the food fight was the last straw.
The last straw. Common sense alert. What are you going to begin here? Have them show you the video. Don't freaking say, well, they're going to see if you get your mother kids, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. Just say, let's look at the video and say, okay, which one's you? And then it would have happened. Another suspension this time when we return. This time it happens this time a food fight happens at a high school, and it leads to some people not graduating. Then Stone films an investigation into toys. Stay with us. Okay, imagine pulling a senior prank that you think was funny. Then it ends in people throwing food. Senior prank! Good! Oh! Right in the face. Ow! Ow, my shirt! Oh, right in the round tables. Something like that. Okay. Your video you're about to see proves a point. In that video, 5 seniors are now walking the stage. And now the parents say they want that reversed. Take a look.
A senior prank turned into a harsh reality for some Turner High School students. After this food fight that you're watching right now on Friday, 5 of them will not be walking at graduation. And now their parents want that decision reversed. This is video from student Jesse Hood of a senior prank. A food fight inside the Turner High School cafeteria Friday. When we slow it down, you can see debris flying through the air.
Upset, sad.
Kenneth Clark admits he was involved.
I threw a tray across the lunchroom and I guess they didn't like that too much.
And he admits he was wrong.
Of course, I should get in trouble for it.
Clark tells us there were about 100 other teens involved too, but only 5 seniors are being punished. He and his mother say he was suspended for 2 days. They agree with that. Their concern is graduation. The 5 have been told they will not be walking. That's where some think the school is taking the punishment a step too far.
For those families that have waited this long, it is about getting the memories, capturing those memories, walking across that stage and receiving that diploma.
Racy Custer's son, Justin Koss, was suspended, and he has also been told he will not walk.
The food fight had already started, and he threw a banana.
She doesn't mind the suspension. She just wants to see her son on stage.
And I agree with that totally, but they're missing out on getting their yearbooks signed, their senior party after graduation.
The school spokesperson responded in a statement, saying in part, they have identified the students responsible, and senior students are regularly reminded that participation in activities that cause disruption will jeopardize participation in graduation. After speaking with the superintendent and principal today, both parents we interviewed are still not satisfied. And both parents asked for the school surveillance video and were told it's against the policy to see it. We also were not released that video. The students said that they offered to help clean up the mess afterward, but were told to leave. We want to know what you think. There are over 100 comments right now on our Facebook page. You can join that conversation at kshb.com/Facebook.
Now that was 8 years ago.
Oh.
Shut up. That was 8 years ago. Common sense alert. Walking the graduation stage is a privilege. It is not your right. Parents out there on my side, parents out one side may agree, the other side, all parents may disagree with me. If it's the school, if it's what the school wants, then you don't need to freaking blame them and start saying, hey, that's going too far. If it's the school's decision, then it is the school's decision. It is not your right to say, how dare you? After my son worked very hard to work hard all those years, you're punishing him? Can I see surveillance videos? Don't create a policy which specifically states you cannot show those videos. If you do, all right then. It's your choice. But seriously though, if I started a food fight, I sure as hell would have made I did it. I would never jeopardize anything that would cause me to not walk the stage. If I did, I sure as hell will finish it, because really, I'm not going to stand up. I will not stand up here and just take the fall here for my friends. I would admit to it. I don't want to start the food fight. I threw the food. Now, when it's done, they wouldn't see it. They could tell their side saying, yes, it was Mr. Carmody who threw a piece of food, or threw a piece of tray, or threw a tray or whatever. He admit to it, and I would be the one not walking the stage. I'm not gonna say it. I would tell my family about this, and so, blah, 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 and they would tell me, they would punish me, so and so. Coming up next, Toy Story. Do you realize the toys you're making are from China? Stone Phillips will tell you. Stay with us. Are you planning on buying your kids toys for their birthday next week or this month? Well, if you are, what if I told you that some of the toys are made by people who don't have the proper safety tools and proper facilities? The people you're about to see are not the typical adults. There are kids under the age of 16 working and violating the laws of the country. Tonight, we're going to show you that as we look into what happens when kids work for non-minimum wage. Here's Stone Phillips.
In this season of giving, the getting has never been better for the makers of the enchanting and intriguing on Santa's wish list.
Parents are crazed trying to get the hottest and hardest to find toys.
With projected sales in the billions, industry executives like David Miller couldn't be more pleased.
Toys R Us reported record profits. Mattel bought Tyco. You and your family are back in the business. It's been a great year for toys. I'm reading that parents are fighting in the stores because they can't get enough.
That's wonderful, isn't it?
But as wonderful as it is for the companies and their stockholders, we wondered, who's paying the price for the profits in Toyland? You may have seen the protests at home.
Child labor, no to the return of the sweatshop.
But tonight, our hidden camera investigation reveals what you haven't seen as we take you behind the barbed wire and prison-like walls of toy factories in Southeast Asia, where 2 million workers produce for your family and the world 80% of all toys.
The toy manufacturers of America have a code of conduct.
Yes.
What does your code of conduct say?
People will be employed willingly, that they will be paid in accordance with the laws of the country that you're manufacturing in, that child labor and prison labor will not be used.
And if members of your organization find that child labor or other labor abuses are present?
Our industry leaders are on record as saying they will close factories that are found to do that summarily, and they will do everything they can to blackball those manufacturers.
Close them down.
Mm-hmm.
Dateline decided to find out just how well toy companies are living up to that code of conduct.
This is where Santa's helpers really come from, and they come cheap. These shanties along the muddy back roads of places like Medan, Indonesia. They are young women and children, some of them as young as 13 years old, working long hours so that children in America can put frilly dresses on America's favorite doll.
My name is Waitsiti. I'm 14 years old, and I have worked at the factory for 1 year.
What kinds of things are you making at the factory?
I make clothes for Barbies like this one.
What's the last grade you finished in school?
5th grade in elementary school.
Meet Wasiti, Ramla, and Neneng, the only elementary school graduates. They represent Indonesia's economic secret to keeping the world's multi-billion-dollar toy industry profitable. While most know Indonesia as a land of great physical beauty, businesses have long relied on Indonesia for its greatest resource, its people. They are plentiful, cheap, and young. Drive down the back roads of industrial areas like Bekasi, and you will see the signs.
This is women workers needed.
Go behind the guarded walls, as we did, undercover, and you will see the faces. And the telltale signs of youth, 2 million strong, that help drive multinational companies to prosper. While half a world away, her American counterparts are getting out of school and heading for the mall, every day at 2:30, Ramla gets ready for her 40-minute bike ride to her factory job at one of Mattel's largest contractors for Barbie clothes, a job she's had since she was 14.
How many hours do you work each day?
From 3:30 to 11 p.m., about 7 hours, the night shift.
Do you know that children your age are not supposed to work at night?
I know about that, but I cannot change shift.
Are there many children like you working in the factory?
A lot. There are some children who have not finished elementary school yet, but if the factory needs them, they will be hired.
Though the girls say the factory is clean and the workers treated well, employing children full-time and at night violates Indonesian law. To get a closer look, Dateline posed as toy manufacturers.
Nice to meet you.
So you're making the clothes. Hi. Phillips, how are you? Nice to see you.
We chose this factory because it deals exclusively with a big American toy company, which means it should be following that code of conduct. We talked with the owner's son, Nicholas.
4.5 years with Mattel.
Yes.
Mostly Barbie?
Mostly all of them are Barbies.
But all of these clothes for Barbie you're making for export primarily to the U.S.?
Yes, it's shipped back to the U.S.
Should companies in this country manufacturing abroad be accountable and responsible for the conditions over there?
Yes, they should.
Why?
Because one must run a factory in a lawful, ethical way.
Remember, the girls we talked to started their factory jobs as young as 13, a violation of Indonesian law as well as toy manufacturers' ethics. But it didn't take much inspection to understand the appeal of underage workers, young, female, and eager to earn the minimum wage of just over $2 a day. Workers like Neneng willingly put up with the hardship.
I feel tired and back pain. I also feel uncomfortable in my eyes because I have to concentrate all the time on the work for which I always have to use a needle.
Although buses are provided during the day for some, most workers on the night shift, like Neneng, have to brave the dark roads for a lonely, hour-long ride home.
I get scared biking home alone. Once I was chased by some people.
The night we followed her, the road was so treacherous we had to say goodbye at midnight. With 10 brothers and sisters in this 2-room house, the income Nene makes, a little over $11 a week, is essential to the survival of her family.
I worry about her coming home late. I'm afraid someone bad will make trouble.
She does this job because our family is very poor. She works very hard. Nene always gives the money to the family.
Can you show me your room?
Like Nadine's family, the 8 members of Ramla's family depend on the $2 a day she earns at the factory to make ends meet. As in so many Indonesian families, Ramla's mother and her father are unemployed.
This is where you sleep?
Me, my grandmother, and my brother.
Are the wages at the factory good wages? Could a family live on those wages?
Not even close. I myself spend about 6,000 rupiah for daily expenses. My daughter only earns 4,600 rupiah.
Struggling to earn a living wage and working 8-hour shifts, I learned, doesn't keep the girls from being little girls.
What do you think of the products that your factory makes? The clothes for these Barbie dolls. Do you like them?
Yeah, I like them.
Do you own a Barbie doll? Do you have a Barbie doll yourself?
A fake one.
A real one would be pretty expensive. How long would you have to work at your jobs to have enough money to buy a Barbie doll? A real Barbie doll? 1 year?
Even 2 years, we wouldn't be able to buy it.
2 years of work. You still wouldn't be able to afford it. So these are dolls for children with money in the United States.
Yes.
But perhaps most disturbing was hearing from the girls that under the guise of training, the factory pays child workers only half of their wage, just over $1 a day. The girls say it was 9 months before they got their full wage. We told industry spokesman David Miller what we learned.
Mattel people would be stunned to hear what you say, because they are as good at monitoring as any company in the world.
Is Mattel often here looking? Do they come to the plant to inspect?
They do. You send people over.
Frequently?
Not to inspect.
And Nicholas confided something else to us. His factory used to be in Jakarta. He moved it to Medan because labor here is cheaper.
Labor is still easy to control, easy to manage, and the pricing is still cheaper than outside. So like you say, it's a well-kept secret.
And you like it that way?
Oh yeah, definitely. We can, we have the advantage that way.
Isn't it always about shaving where and when you can, producing it for the lowest possible cost in order to maximize profit?
Is there anything wrong with that?
Only if it leads to abuses.
Abuses are not acceptable under any set of circumstances. And to use the excuse that you must shave your price so that you can't pay your employees their lawful wage is not justified. It's not ethically correct.
Hi, nice to see you.
But as our investigation continued, we would visit other factories making many of your favorite toys. And while we heard a lot about long shifts and low prices, the phrase ethically correct never came up.
It would never come up. When we come back, we're going to visit those other factories to see if they lived up to that code of conduct. Will they? Or are they? Or won't they? Stone Phillips continues Toy Story. Stay with us. Now, back to our story. We've showed you those factories that make those wonderful toys, those Barbie doll toys, but you haven't seen anything yet. And remember, those Barbie dolls are made by Mattel, and those little kids, the factories are violating Indonesian law, which says they cannot be working under the adult age, like 16 or 17, I'm not sure. But as the investigation continues, you will see these other factories that are making those other toys. Once again, here's Stone Phillips.
I like Barbie. I feel sad if Americans don't buy Barbie dolls. I'm glad that I make clothes for Barbie.
While Nening and the thousands of young female toy workers of Indonesia sew, stitch, and sweat to make America's favorites, what they don't know is their jobs may not be there for long. Jobs that may move to a cheaper country, as they've moved in years past, from Japan to Korea, from Korea to Indonesia. It's what critics call a race to the bottom, from Pooh to Paddington. Toy companies shop for overseas factories, in fierce competition to underbid one another, often at a cost to their workers. Posing as a toy company, I'm Mr. Phillips.
For vended toys?
Dateline went undercover in Asia. I'm Mr. Phillips. To see just how cheaply we could knock off an American staple, the Vermont teddy bear.
This is what we're interested in doing. We have Lil Suede here on the feet.
We want to get your best price.
With the help of Joe Allen, a retired textile manufacturer, we learned there is method to the bidding madness.
How much does it cost to produce this?
Factory number 1, uniforms, 8-hour shifts, well-lit individual benches. And the price tag for our bear? $4.10. We did better at factory number 2. Longer shifts, 12 hours here, outdated equipment, exposed electrical wires, blocked fire exits. And the bid here?
My price now is 2.8.
What happened to 275?
275 up to 3.
And even better at factory number 3.
I'd like you to meet Mr. Phillips and Mr. Allen.
Yes.
We were surprised to find that our lowest bid came from a contractor who services some of the best-known brands.
Who's your biggest customer right now from the United States? Walt Disney.
Mr. Lee proudly displayed familiar American classics.
Oh yes, applause.
And then we talked price.
Now we get to the price. Your price is
220 up to 230.
After surveying the floor and talking to the workers, we soon discovered how Mr. Lee may keep his costs so low.
He's so cute. He just finished elementary school and he works here for 3 months. 3,900 a day. And he said that's enough.
Underage workers earning below minimum wage, making Paddington Bears for an American company called Eden Toys, a company owned by David Miller's family. Remember, Miller is president of the Toy Manufacturers of America and a strong supporter of its code of conduct.
Good code. Can you enforce it?
I challenge anyone to come forward with the name of a company and the practice that's taking place. I guarantee that our industry will see that that factory is out of business.
Then we told him what we found. Underage workers making bears for his brother's company.
Does it surprise you to hear that?
Yes.
Should it surprise you if you're doing your inspections?
Should it surprise me? It would surprise me because it shouldn't happen. I'm shocked, to be honest.
Underage workers and undesirable conditions hardly shocked Joe Roy Allen.
What has stood out the most to you from what we've seen here?
Oh, the poverty.
Allen, who says his textile business went under because he couldn't compete with sweatshop labor, insists that labor this cheap usually comes at some human cost.
So what's all of this about?
Greedonomics. This is about getting product made as cheap as you possibly can, regardless of morals or anything else. Just getting it made cheap.
And maximizing your profit.
That is correct. The business is entitled to make a profit. But I think business has a moral obligation to the workers.
I think fair is the key thing.
Pat Burns is chief executive officer of the Vermont Teddy Bear Company.
We don't gouge. We cover our costs and make a fair profit. And I think that's our marching order as far as the financial side of the balance sheet is concerned.
As a toy company, Vermont Teddy Bear is an endangered species.
Looks good. How's it going today?
Looks to me like you did a great job.
One of the few still making its product in America. With workers making $7.25 an hour, plus health benefits and a stock plan, labor costs here aren't cheap. Last year, the factory considered shutting down and moving production overseas. How much could Burns have saved? Well, remember, each bear cost him just over $14 here.
We took one of your teddy bears overseas with us.
You
to
did?
Indonesia and to China.
What did he think of them?
Well, everybody liked your teddy bear. The prices we got was quite a range. We found factories that can produce this teddy bear for as little as $2.25 per bear.
That's a very low price. We're not in the chase to the bottom. We're in the chase for a better product, a great company culture, great place to be, a great business to participate in. It's a nice livelihood. on the one hand. How many meals a day can you eat?
Burns says he can afford to keep making his bear in America because he has a strong mail-order business and doesn't have to compete for shelf space. But big toy companies argue that overseas production is critical to their survival, enabling them to produce large volumes at the lowest possible price for consumers.
Stop exploitation!
But critics say it's not about lower prices, it's about higher profits. Labor activist Charles Kernigan has been studying manufacturing and markups.
What we're finding out is that the markup, when it goes from the offshore manufacturer to the retailer, we're looking 200, 300, 400, 500, 600% markups. I mean, it's unbelievable.
We wondered about the toys we'd seen. Remember Mr. Lee's factory, where there were underage girls making those bears for Eden toys?
How much do these little Paddington bears?
1 piece.
1 piece. What can you produce it for?
70 cents. One piece.
Finished. You heard it. Just 70 cents to pack, produce, and ship this bear to America, where it's selling for $8. The markup, more than 1,000%. But there's a place that's even cheaper than Indonesia, a world we gained rare access to, a place that manufactures 80% of all the toys on the planet, China. Before receiving Most Favored Nation status in 1979, a tax break supposedly contingent on human rights, China did not produce a single toy for the U.S. In June, when Congress threatened to pull China's MFN status because of alleged human rights and copyright violations, the toy industry's David Miller successfully testified on China's behalf. Losing MFN status would have meant a 70% tax on toys made in China.
I have decided to extend unconditional Most Favored Nation trade status to China.
Today, toys made there aren't taxed at all. This is Shenzhen Province, nickname Santa's Economic Zone. Here, all-night factories churn out 1 out of every 2 toys sold in America. Here, more than 1 million migrant female workers eat, sleep, and work in factory compounds for just over $1 a day. That's half of what Indonesian workers earn.
Yes, the age is 18 to 25. Have an ID card. I'm not married.
I say this is prostitution.
Apo Leong, a Hong Kong-based advocate for Asian toy workers, monitors working conditions throughout the region.
These toy women workers mostly work more than 10 hours a day and sometimes without rest day or even holidays. And above all, every day they are exposed to dangerous chemicals from solvents, from what we call invisible killers.
With our hidden camera rolling, Dateline visited 2 Chinese factories.
Oh, it's mechanical, yes.
In this one, we found young women working 12-hour shifts, making everything from Avon rabbits to one of this year's hottest sellers, 101 Dalmatians. The factory manager proudly pointed out the crowded living compounds just across the street, where 4,000 workers live. At the other factory, where popular action figures like Spider-Man and other cartoon characters are manufactured, we saw workers subjected to stifling fumes without protective masks or gloves. And we saw this. The living conditions. The young workers housed 16 to a room, a cramped series of bunks. The only privacy, a towel or a cardboard wall for those lucky enough to have one. All they own is kept here in spaces no bigger than a closet. No heat, no running water. As for safety, it's crowded conditions like these that played a role twice in the past 3 years in deadly fires at toy factories in Asia. The death toll, 265. Charles Kernigan, an outspoken critic of overseas labor practices, says in places like China and Indonesia, companies should not be left to police themselves.
Again and again and again, all of these companies that have claimed that they've had corporate codes of conduct. And they tell you, we screen our contractors, we interview them, they have to fill out audits, we have site inspections. It's nonsense.
With all due respect, can the industry be trusted to police itself? Why not independent monitoring?
Those who claim that they're independent and would be suitable to monitor have their own political agendas. Many times, the aim is to destroy trade with foreign countries.
But we wondered, if we hadn't looked, who would know about the fumes, the fire hazards, and the living conditions at those toy factories we visited in China? Who would know that those girls barely out of elementary school work full-time, day and night, in Indonesia?
If it can happen to Eden Toys, your family's company, can it happen to anybody?
It can't. We really don't want it to continue. We want to see these practices eliminated.
But until that day comes, this message from a concerned voice in Asia to consumers in America. Tell companies you care how your toys are made and who makes them.
We are not announcing a boycott of toys made in China or made in Indonesia, but we are asking the consumers, make sure they think twice before they buy these Christmas toys for the American children.
And always try to think before you buy. I'll be back in a moment. Here's a preview of what's coming up on Monday's show.
When shots rang out on this remote mountainside, it destroyed a family and became a rallying cry against government abuse.
That shot went through the door, killed my wife with her hand.
I was scared they were just going to keep taking us one by one.
Tonight, a primetime exclusive. For the first time, Randy Weaver and his family revisit the scene of their standoff with federal agents and give their account of what really happened at Ruby Ridge. After this initial shooting, you're telling me that no one said surrender?
You'll hear Randy Weaver's side of the story. Plus, you're also going to hear, you'll hear the FBI side of the story from Chris Hansen. This was from this tape. This is from this tape back in 1995. Tom Brokaw with that exclusive interview with Randy Weaver, and Chris Hansen with that exclusive interview with that FBI agent who finally retired. Well, that for you come up on Monday, or if not, I'll have that for you coming up also this week on Give Me a Break Wednesday. So, then in mind, that's a wrap up for Give Me a Break Saturday night. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Monday. For everyone here on YouTube and this show, good night.